Welcome back. You're watching Morning Cafe with me, Anne Odida, and right about now, our conversation is at the intersection of education and workforce development, and that is integrating CBC with TVET for a skilled workforce. And to help us unpack this conversation is Lillian Kemunto, a CBC instructor, just at the far end, and Boaz Waruku, a policy and strategy advisor at Elimu Bora and a member of the Kenyan Human Rights Commission. Karibuni sana to studios.
Thank you.
All right, I want us to set the stage for this conversation.
Yes.
And Lillian, I'll start with you.
Yes.
Why is it important for us to have this conversation today?
I think it's important for us to have the conversation because as far as I know, not so many people know more about CBC and TVET. Actually, many people don't know, like, we are integrating the CBC students to the TVET institutions. Yes.
Yeah. So, you see, TVET is already integrated into CBC, right? So what advantages would integrating it more into TVET bring?
If we integrate our kids at an early age, it's easy for them to adapt outside this world, outside our Kenyan system. Because when we are dealing with the CBC students, we are training them to know how to solve problems outside the world. Secondly, we are training them to have the critical thinking. Because like TVT, we have the machines, we have agriculture, and also we are training them at an early age to be the entrepreneurs of tomorrow. Like now under the CBC, let me give an example. My school, the Nyali Cambridge in Nyali, we have a rabbit farm. We have a rabbit farm for the grade 6, 7, and 8. They are rearing the rabbits, so it's easy for them to rear the rabbit, sell the rabbit's meat to the people outside the school, even the staff. From there, they are being integrated to be the entrepreneurs. Wanajua, hapa tunatengeneza profit, we are supposed to buy pellets, we are supposed to buy hay. This is what we are going to, this is the profit we are going to get at the end of the day. So we are trying to make them aware what is in the society. Wasiingie tu wakashindwa, what's happening in the society? Yes. And also under the TVET, if we integrate our students earlier, it's easy for them to learn how to operate these machines. Like the school system nowadays, we are using the STEM system. It's easy for them to learn science, technology, using the STEM technology. Yes.
Was as a policy advisor from where you sit, I'll ask you the same question. Why is it important and why is it considered so crucial to integrate CBC and TVET in the education system and for the workforce?
Thank you, Anne, and indeed I'm happy about what Lillian is saying. Let's start from the basics. CBC emphasizes competency. And competency can only be built when you have knowledge, you also have the skills, you have the right attitude, and you have the environment to operate. I would say that actually CBC, right from the basic education level, is a TVET, which because essentially it's trying to bring on board the talent, the skills that many of these young people have had. It's trying to just inspire them, to make them really be to be independent in a way, but to be creative thinkers, to be innovative thinkers and all. The concept of CBC is wonderful. Its implementation, we can talk about that at another time. So when we talk of integration, we are basically trying to ensure that all the skill set, all the knowledge areas, all the societal engagement processes, social skills, all these are being infused or being triggered so that then you keep on building and building and building. And so a person who can rely on even the environment, can be creative, can be a solution provider as opposed to waiting for so-and-so will come and help. That is the kind of a person that this 21st century requires. But that person requires also not just the CBC to be made better, but the TVET institutions and all that, because that integration will run through right from it. It starts from PP1.
Yes.
It should be running through and through. that child knows that you don't just learn by sitting to be told what to imbibe, you know, it's that banking approach or pedagogy where it's assumed that you do not know, you have completely no idea what's going on. No, it builds on what you know, improving upon it. Yeah. So when you start making that child to realize that they have capacity, you want to enhance it, that they have some talent, you want to inspire them, that they have ability to imbibe knowledge, deeper knowledge, and even create knowledge, because they can create knowledge within the workshops and all that, but research, a component of it also is required to be there. But all these good things we are talking about cannot work if we do not have good teachers, if we do not have good instructional materials, and even the spaces, including the equipment, that is required at a very tender age. And with that, if we invested more robustly the way we should invest, anytime you are doing a transitional change, a transition within a system like a CBC from 844, you need to put in a little bit more money than what you've been doing before. But also, you need to be accountable for every step. You do not just talk about it, you act it, and people need to feel it. The parents need to feel it. Imagine CBC's requirement and that integration would require that even the parents are aware and conscious and they participate, the engagement. But we've not had a mechanism that supports the parents to engage effectively. Yeah. We still have, our literacy levels are not as low as
so the parents are doing much work.
They're doing much work, but without support that would be required. CBC should have had a component of that outreach and that support mechanism that also ensures they come on board and they are really supportive of their children, of their learners. You know, imagine your little one coming home and asking you, "Mommy or Daddy, can you help me? You know, I was told to do this." And as a parent, you know, you don't want to tell the child you don't know. So you actually help, but you are diverting to a wrong thing. You need to be reached, or the outreach needs to be done, so that where, you know, there's a skill set that parents generally have, given by God. Whether they've gone to school or all that, the parental responsibility and that knowledge, the skill of just parenting is given to them by Almighty God. When you have an outreach that supports them and makes them feel confident that when they are confronted by such queries and all, they have a way of enabling this learner. You either know it or you know where it can be gotten. You direct this learner where they can get it if you do not have it. You know, those ones do not just happen. You need to outreach these parents so that they learn those skills. Because if this child comes and sees that, "Mommy, Daddy, hajui chochote," that would be a wrong grounding for the CBC integration into this year.
Lillian, you know, we are talking about CBC being something good that is now happening in the education sector. But what is also mentioning that the parents are not onboarded into this process. So what needs to be done? Because wako nje basi. We want them also in this
what's happening, it depends with the school where your child is learning. Because most schools have talked to the parents about CBC. But what I know, like 50% of the parents, they don't know what's happening in the CBC. My schools, we call the teacher, we call the parents, we sat them down, we told them now we are moving from the 844 system, and this is the CBC system that's coming on board. And this is what is expected of you as a parent. So for that, I can disagree. I can agree and disagree. It depends with the school where your child is. Talk about the Nyali Cambridge, I talk about Precious Kids School. I have called all the parents. They are aware of what they are needed to do. We also have the progress days. We call the parents. The parents sit down one-on-one with the class teacher. The parent is able to know the strengths and the weakness of her or his child. So for me, my parents are integrated, they are good. Yes, because they know what it's expected of them as a parent. Yes. So,
you'd agree with me, actually, because I like her contribution. You'll realize that she's from the private school sector. And you know that we are top heavy on the public education system.
And that's what I'm saying.
Let me just finish. Yeah, she's right.
Yeah.
And they got a leakage. CBC gave leakage to the private school system and ignored and neglected the public education system. As we anchor heavily on that, because that is where the poorest of the poor children are. You know, for you to go to her school, you need some little money. They are very rich. You can actually see.
No, let me disagree. Let me disagree with Boaz. Let me disagree with that. Let me disagree first. I think when you're talking about the private sector and the public sector, I think the public sector, you're under the government, right? We have the sub-county directors, right? I think these are the people who are supposed to train the teachers in your schools. They are supposed to train the director. They are supposed to train the head teachers in your school so that the head teachers also call the parents and train them. What does it mean? You guys are not trained. You guys don't know what's happening in the CBC system. It's from above. It's starting from above, actually. If your parents don't know what's happening in the CBC, what does it mean? The sub-county system, they didn't train the teachers. Are your teachers trained? Are your teachers trained?
Thank you.
Yes.
Get his response.
I listen to you. I understand and appreciate where you're coming from.
Yes.
You know, even when you make reference to the sub-county directors of education, that sub-county director is overseeing multitudes of schools. Getting even to each of those schools, since CBC began, there are some schools that even the director has never set foot there.
So does it mean the head teachers are not aware what's happening in the CBC?
Not necessarily. The head teachers, there's that induction that they go through once in a while. So the essence, because the component I was bringing in is the level of knowledge, awareness, and being aware of their responsibility as parents, that has not been well done within the public education. And I say they had a leakage because even domiciling JSS, all of us thought that these people were going to the secondary school. What happened? Boom, you are told they are domiciled in the primary. Before that, they were already constructing laboratories and workshops in their school.
You are aware we are shifting from the 844 to the CBC,
but
you are not
junior secondary school.
Yes.
We knew it was secondary school. We didn't know a secondary school can be brought to a primary school that does not even have a dustbin. That does not even have
right now the classes are not there.
No, they had classes. Remember with the 844 we had grade 1, class 1 up to class 8, right?
Yes.
Now, junior secondary, what level is this starting from? From grade 7, 8, 9, right?
Yes, and
7, 8, 9. Kitambo, you had class 1 to 8. So the other classes, what are you using them for? They are the classes that you're supposed to use them for. I
want us to put this discuss to rest.
Let me tell you the advantage. They have. Their schools, because private, even the classrooms are controlled. I know they have, say, 30 students or even 25 in some classes. In the public education sector, those classrooms that were constructed for 50 students, some are holding 100 students. And there's nothing you can do about it because you're not supposed to throw away any child to block them from accessing those. Basic Education Act outlaws that. You allow them to go in there. You are not supposed to ask them to make any payment when they are joining those admission fees. So we have flooded the public education infrastructure without commensurate expansion. So even the classes that you're saying are there, we had up to class 8. But now we have grade 9. That's why there's the hurry of constructing classrooms, it is a sprint. And of course, that is where I also fault the government. They knew all along that you are going to have grade 9. You don't wait until last minute. So, just back to the skills, because you're looking at how the CBC integrates seamlessly, effortlessly with the TVET, because that to me is the crux of the matter.
Yes.
And I'm saying that it would have been good if, as we are trying to do so, the teachers are also being trained sufficiently, being recruited in numbers, because the deficit we have now is not the 116,000 that I think I had the CS Mashogu talk about. We have a deficit of 150,000. for us to say now we are okay with the CBC, right from the primary, lower primary, upper primary, JSS, and now even as we transition to the senior school, that the gap would not be so much, because at least now they have only 3 cadres of classes, that is from 2, 3, and 4, and those ones would be able now to come and take care of grade 10. We hope that as things go on, those teachers also at the high school would be reoriented. The re-engineering, they call it retooling, I call it re-engineering, that they'll be re-engineered now to think in the right way, the perspective that CBC was up. Yeah, the CBC way.
Yes.
Also, the universities and teacher training colleges. I know it is everything now they're saying, competency-based teacher training, competency-based that and this and that. But at the university, I'm not aware that our faculties dealing with education, the development of the teacher, have been really made to consult amongst themselves.
Do you know, that brings me to my question, Boaz.
Yes.
Are our teachers really prepared and very well equipped to offer lessons that both align with both TVET's and CBC requirements?
Yes, they are.
Are they?
Yes.
The teachers require a lot more of induction
and training.
When that happens, because you see, these are teachers, go to the JSS and then the senior schools, which is coming. They were trained to teach only 2 subjects. When they were trained to teach only 2 subjects, take the ones that were teaching only business studies and CRE. Those combinations are quite common. Or Kiswahili and CRE, very common, and many of the teachers have them. But here is a CBC that would require you to have an understanding of some basic science. You're dealing with integrated science. You are dealing with the pre-technology subjects. You are dealing with those. That would require some knowledge beyond just the 2 subjects that you are trained on. That's why I'm saying, where you are getting them from, change and improve that system that trains them, so that they come out when they can, at least, even if they are delivering on 3 subjects, but they are delivering on 3 subjects in tandem with what the CBC envisages ahead. 844, let me give you an example of why we failed as 844. 844 started with very practical subjects, but then we didn't have teachers to deliver them. We did not invest the funds to ensure that workshops, kitchenettes and such were actually made available and equipped. So with time, we started saying, you can do music as an option. You can do art and craft as an option. You can do even agriculture, being an optional subject, a key component of food security in the country. Whatever it is, we should not have put that as an option. So I'm saying, when we started leaving that and not training the teacher to start thinking the way we were supposed to do, but remember, Moi University was supposed to be the citadel of training of teachers and the people who would be helping in the 844. Because 844 was an offshoot of the task force that was exploring the establishment of the second university, which became the Moi University. I know you could be wondering, how do we call Moi University the second? Because Kenyatta University was a university college, a constituent college of Nairobi, of the Nairobi University. You go to Egerton, that one was an agricultural college, and all those things. But Moi University, right from the start, it was grounded that this will be a second university, and it's supposed to be technology-driven, very skilled and all. In fact, before the government reached out to JICA to help establish the JQuat. So why I'm bringing that out is because all these institutions were supposed to give us the woman power or manpower to be able to teach our children, our students at the lowest level. And we were not able to do so. We started going along it like any other campus or university, where you just go through, after the 4 years, then you are done, you have your degree. Then we started realizing many of them were now not even job creators.
Lillian, you wanted to weigh in on that?
Yeah, because he's getting out of the question. I think it's good to just answer the question direct. we are talking about the teacher training. Yeah, the government actually is trying, because every holiday we have the training for the teachers. But what I'll request is more training in the institution, in the teachers' colleges. They should be trained on how to handle the CBC students. And when we talk about the facilities at the moment, I know some schools that don't have enough facilities to offer the CBC system. Because CBC is all about, we have so many projects, and when we look at the public schools, things like lab, things like computers, they don't have. So making it difficult for the CBC to integrate well to the TVET institutions. Yes.
So in short, you're saying these CBC learners are not well equipped to thrive in these technical subjects?
At the moment, it depends. Yeah, there are schools that they are transiting well, but other schools where we lack materials, where we lack workshops, where we lack labs, where we lack gardens, that's where it's becoming uneasy. Like now, a school maybe a school where they don't have a swimming pool, and the art lessons, the art lesson nowadays, it's a combination of 3 subjects, PE, art, and music. Now you get they're supposed to go for swimming. Where are these kids going to go for a swimming if they don't have a swimming pool in the school? That's where it's becoming a problem. Or you're supposed to do an experiment in the lab, and the school doesn't have a lab. The school doesn't even have electricity. How are we going to help these kids? So that's the major issue.
Boz,
Yes,
would you say our learners are prepared or just equipped to thrive in these technical fields?
Let me tell you, the learners, anytime, anywhere, the learners will always be ready. It is how you provide the equipment, the teachers, you know, the parameters that would enable them to learn. I know some of us would also still add that those learners also need to be helped a little bit more by providing even some meals in school. Because when you say learner preparedness, psychologically and all, I know we could be having many who are starving in school. So there's a component of all that would make that learner be prepared. The home situation, some of them come from homes where I don't want to say there's a little bit of hell, because, and of course, this is a society, we are going through lots of stress. You find broken families, or you just have homes where there's completely nothing. The child comes back and has not been assured that there'll even be peace at night, there'll be something to eat. So those are things which do not really make them to be well prepared. But if you got good teachers,
they are good
learning
to go.
environment, they'll overcome these other matters. They'll be able to overcome. And for us, that's why in Limubora we say, try to make the learning a little bit easier for these people.
Make it a home far away from home.
Make it comfortable, but also, even when they go back home, that's why my emphasis on the outreach to the parents was to make them know that learning does not just take place at school. That the way the children interact when they come back home and all that will prepare them to come. Just imagine a child who went and got traumatized at home. The following day, this child would not just focus here on the learning, will be thinking of what's happening at home, and when the time comes to go back, when the time comes to go back, the child does not even want to go back there. So there's a way that the society as a whole, these stakeholders, would require to come in more. Let me come back to the CBC within the UPBET schools. These are major in some of the towns and the cities. UPBET school, the alternative provision of basic education and training. That policy that was established after Kibaki declared free primary education. So that policy was to enable the families or parents in areas where there were no public school to at least whatever they initiate as an education center, a community center, learning center and all, that it could be recognized. But it was also supposed to be regulated so that you do not have an UPBET school that down is a bar, in the middle is the school, upper the pastor and the choir are making their thing, speaking to God in the tongues that they know. The learning environment must be made conducive. So those UPBET schools, I know they are interim. interim institutions to ensure that each and every person accesses education, particularly the children, that they get access to these schools. Because some of the areas they're coming from, you don't have those public schools. But also, if you want to go to Lillian School, you must pay, and you pay heavily. Because they ask for the check.
Answer the question and ask. Let him answer the question and ask.
I have to we are in a society.
About this.
You know, the marking scheme she wants me to deploy is her marking scheme. My marking scheme explores the entire cosmos. The environmental
scheme should come from the question. Next question.
This environment.
All right.
So I'm telling you, it is important to take cognizance of the fact that many of the learners in those environments, in the upper schools, would require more assistance by government constructing more classrooms or establishing more public schools in those
Learners are ready,
more materials.
The learners will always be
there is
ready.
a gap.
The learners
That's the
will
work
always
of
be
the
ready.
government
All right,
now.
Lillian,
learners
you see,
will always
I want
be
you to
ready.
tell us about now the competencies that are instilled, that CBC instilled to ensure that these learners are adaptable to this technical training.
Yes, yes. We have the, which are the competencies that you know?
Lillian, you're a CBC instructor.
But I want you to start. I want you to start.
She needs to tell us. She's in the classroom and she actually instructs.
We have the ICT provision. That's where, like in our school, it's easy. The teachers are teaching through ICT. We use the laptops in class. If maybe the teacher is teaching about a story in the theory, we'll use the laptop. We can also use the phone. Also, we have the partnership, the cooperation. The kids are able to work as a team, togetherness. They cooperate, they work as a team. The peers, when we give out projects, it's easy for them to work as a team, to think critically on how to solve the problem. That's where we come to problem solving. It's easy for them. So it's easy for them to integrate to the TVET. Yes.
Now, Boaz, I know you want to respond to...
Yes, I'm here.
It's okay.
It's perfect, right?
I think the
Yes.
skill set is broad.
But
I've
broad,
liked
yes.
the aspects because she's talking, those are some of the survival skills.
Yes, yes.
21st century skills
You have
required
to.
for these young people. I like that the digital
problem solving,
that
innovative,
critical thinking
integrity.
is core at the heart of it. Critical thinking is the one that would allow you not just to jump when you're told to jump. You say, why should I
Why
jump?
should I jump? Yes.
You know, that enables you, because you process things and say, you look at the reason. Actually,
Or when
there's-
you're given
this-
a task to do, how am I supposed to do it? How am I going to get this? Yes, so
So
it's
there's a
easy for them
generation,
to think.
yeah,
yes.
this younger generation, I know you're talking of Gen Zs, then there's a coming one, the Alpha.
The Alpha.
Yeah.
Those people would put us on the spot because one, they don't just do things. They want to understand why should it be done, and the way you're
How
doing
should it be done?
the way you are doing it, that's the how. Why shouldn't it be done this
way?
You know, the alternative thinking.
Yeah.
So they always create that, but also the social skills. There's an element that they could also be missing out here. Because again, when you are so glued to the equipment, machines and all, then the interaction person to person gets diminished. CBC should not enhance that, should find a way of ensuring that that is developed or that is bridged. But also the industrial skills that now would enable you really to perform in the industry of the choice, if it is in the process line, if it is on the production of, say, just goods and services, the marketing and all, those skill sets that would require
what they are
to
learning
be
too.
there. You know, you require to be there. And by the way, nowadays, if you do not talk about content creation, that creative art element, that in itself is very important.
That's under art, actually.
Are students taught that right now in CBC?
Yes,
Content creation?
Because under art we have photography, we have videos. Yes, how to take photos, how to save the photo in your laptop, how to take good videos, how to edit those videos, and how to save. So it still falls under content creation. Like you can be given a project at home over the holiday, visit a farm, take photos, edit them, and save and print, then you bring them to school the following day.
Actually, what Lillian says reminds me of what we keep on repeating as a Limubora, that for CBC or any other education system to thrive, you require to have the model schools that currently, I think she's talking about one of them. When you hear her talk about laptops and all that, those are the equipment, basic equipment that should be in any school. So that we need to provide for all this, the learning environment, those equipment, in any school, whether it is in Kabatonjo, Barkorua, Wothogik, you know, whatever.
The fact that I come from Barkorua.
No, yes, all those areas. Whenever, I didn't know, sorry.
Actually, they should, the material should be both in school and at home. Because what if you're given a project at home to do and you don't have a printer?
First, we ensure that the school is like that model school. A school that you walk in, you expect to find A to Z, and they exist. Even the outmodeled one are being refurbished, or you bring the new ones, so that then there's no, you don't get stuck in the process of learning. If we do not do that, chances are that we may relapse to the theoretical exam-oriented system, like what 844 became. Because 844 was not supposed to be that. But because we did not invest in what matters, the training of the teachers appropriately, in the equipping of the schools, the construction of those laboratories and workshops. Maybe the person who conceived the CBC idea thought that 844 had been delivered the way it should have been, so that it was now being, starting from where 844 had reached. They did not realize that 844 had gone to the more theoretical kind of way. So you require to invest now heavily and equip those schools appropriately. Make the learning interesting. By the way, young people like to see, to touch, to feel, and to socialize, they explore and all those things. They like that. If you make that schools and the classrooms that, I mean, you say it's tantalizing in a way. All of them, many of them would want to be in school. We'll be not having cases of so many young ones out of school. Because this is where they would like to be.
I want us to take a look at the labor market.
Before we go to the labor market. When you're talking about the CBC wanting to, the classroom for them to explore, to touch, that's where you find, like in schools, if you are teaching them, like in the 844 system, if you are teaching them on how to, in home science, maybe cooking, ilikuwa tu theory. But nowadays in CBC, you'll request the parents maybe to bring food, anything, then the kids come to school and they do what? They do it practically. Like an example, if I give an example about Cambridge, I know you're going to talk.
No, it's okay, it's okay. But I'm a product of 844. I also did.
You know, an example. Like now, Cambridge last time, the kids were learning how to make pizza. I had to take them to Pizza Inn for them to learn practically on how to do it. Also, we usually have a program every year at the end of the year. We usually call it a bake sale. I've trained my kids on how to bake. They bake and they sell to the parents. We have trained them how to bake, do it practically, sell, they know, they'll calculate. I've used all these ingredients. How much has it costed me? And how much am I going to sell so that I do what? I get the profit. So they know it's practical lessons. Sio kama zile za kitambo za theory.
You know, it's funny because I'm seeing boys and boys.
Now, because I wanted to hear that cooking ugali is also part of it. I wanted to hear that
now, like home science, when you talk about the types of food, we have the carbohydrate, the protein, and the vitamin. So if we are doing a practical lesson in school, sitrapika sima, we'll cook ugali. We will do skuma wiki ama cabbage. Then we cook kanyama choma. Kanyama will boil. Ama tutachija sungura alafu tupike.
Listen, boys. You know, we have to move on. You know, so we're looking at the labor market.
Yes.
How does this integration now at TVET and CBC address the gaps in education and employability from where you sit?
I think first we should reorient ourselves to the philosophy that should be more appropriate to our country. In the past, from independence, our philosophy has been we educate for the market, just to supply workers.
Yeah, supply workers.
Right now, it is good to have workers, have people skilled, competent, and all. But you also require people who can also think and think on their feet and initiate and create, so that they are not just job seekers and they are job creators. In fact, that is why the proponents of CBC, I enjoy interrogating CBC more because I understand it. But I know that you do not have to change an education system to introduce it as a system. You integrate it within the education so that people get the benefit of it, get the feeling of it. So why I say so, it's because it would be good to have a system, a system that would produce these learners that can tap into any environment, that they can change and transform that environment. That is what competence is about. That if you are, say, in the northeastern part of this country, where the kind of animals kept is ngamia and all that, and that environment which is a little bit hostile, that you can also be helped to know that drilling of water, because water is everywhere, let me tell you, that drilling of water can be done. That even irrigation can also be done in those areas. That those are skills that you can be taught. Look at Libya when Muammar Gaddafi was still there. A desert area that was food sufficient because of the kind of investments they did on education and all that. So in Kenya, the kind of skills that we also require these learners to have are skills that would enable them to exploit the environment, to think broadly, but also to be industrious and get into whichever existing industries and sustain them. Go to the sugar belt and not just thinking of, oh, we want to produce sugar. Do it the way the Brazilians do it. That sugar is a byproduct, that the main product you want to produce there, which is generating a lot of money, is something, the power alcohol, all those things which now are more expensive, or rather they bring in more income. So then if the sugar cost then becomes moderated, that is the kind of thinking that I thought 844 would help in inspiring our young people to think about, so that you are not just living there, but you start thinking, who knows who is doing work where, can I get a job where? No, it's because the skills that they have been helped to nurture,
they've grown with it.
They can grow with it. They can even get into a moribund kind of an environment and spur growth, revitalize and restart certain processes.
Lillian.
Now, adding
Lillian, that is what I'm talking about.
Now, are you talking about the 844 CBC?
From the public education, no, 844, you know, these systems, don't just call them by their name, by their name.
Now, let me add on the CBC getting the students into the labor market. When we go to the senior high school, we have an option where the children will choose the subjects according to their interests, according to their career. If you look at the CBC, we are tapping their careers from the tender age. If I talk about the other system, kitambo ilikuwa, because your mom wants you to be a teacher, you have to be a teacher. Ama because you failed in exam, unarushwa in any field. But with the CBC, we are tapping the talents, we are tapping their careers from a very young age. If you look at your kid, you know very well your good is a good swimmer. Let the kid go into that path. That's why we have the art category. We have the performing arts, we have the visual arts. Performing arts, nowadays you have dancers. We have dancers, it's a job. So it's easy to tap the talents and the interests of the kids when they're young, so that they can fit in the society. Let them not feel like I'm being forced to do something that I'm not good at. So outside here, we are having workers who are good in what they do.
What are the assessment methods under CBC?
Sorry, under CBC, we have so many assessment methods. We have the portfolios. Every year we have projects, and after the projects, you fill the papers in the portfolios. We also have the assessment where they do the assessment worksheets every week. Like in my school, every Friday we give worksheets. A worksheet is a sheet, like a teacher will come up with the questions that the topic she or he has taught for the whole week, so that on Friday they can give out, so that the teacher will be aware. Did I teach well? Mtoto alielewa? So that's how we assess them. We use the portfolios, we use the worksheet. We also have projects. We have projects running for the whole of the term. Yes, we have projects. Also under the next system, they are assessed using the projects. Like last year we had projects. We do them from the second term. They run second term to third term. That's how we assess the kids.
Is this assessment methods in CBC translating to the one in the TVET environment, boys?
It should. And
It does, yes.
what I would also encourage, actually, I like Lillian's perspective, is talking about a functional and working CBC system. And from our school, it appears things are working. I want to take her to the public schools, where I indicated there are some schools with one teacher handling a classroom of 100 students. This teacher, probably even knowing the names of these learners one-on-one is very difficult. And yet, the assessment, you're supposed to actually say whether they're meeting expectations or above expectations and such, or approaching. It's giving these teachers a lot of headache. So just ensure that the system that then you're trying to help in assessing that learners are learning is taking place is also appropriate, and then they are cumulative. And as we are approaching grade 10, it would help us to assist this child to know which pathway to take. You know, this is JSS. In the public schools, it is struggling. And yet in grade 10, we want that child to take STEM. That is the path that would produce the top scientists, the engineers, the doctors, and all that.
Where are you going to get the white
no, I'm saying I'm giving the STEM and all that. No, that's pre-technology, the one that would now lead us into the technology path, and that would now help these learners really to exploit their potential they have understood, or the social sciences, or the sports sciences. But at this critical juncture, the JSS where these are supposed to be determined, you realize that not all has been well. So our pillars are the Mubora, and we always say, because we did not prepare sufficiently in the public education system, I'm not talking about your schools. Those ones, you are given leakage and you prepare them. In the public education system, can we ensure that all our senior schools have all the pathways?
So when we come...
all the senior schools have all the pathways. In other words, inclusive system. Or if you want to pursue science, you are there. But if you find that the going is a little bit rougher and you want to moderate it or somewhere, or maybe you feel your calling now is in the social science, you can go there. Or sports science, you can go there, you know. That would be very helpful, because if we lock it out and say that there are certain schools that would never offer STEM, very few schools would qualify to offer that STEM. It can take us back to the system pre-844, where there were schools that were earmarked, this one, science schools, A-levels. That was advanced level after doing ordinary level. Ordinary level is what was terminating at Form 4, where there was Kenya Certificate of Education. Then Kenya Advanced Certificate of Education, which was being done at Form 6. So if we are not careful, we may risk having just a few of those schools, top level schools, where investments have been heavy, currently may be called the national schools. That those
so how
would
do
be,
you assess
those would be the ones that would be taking STEM. Now, when you come back to how do you ensure that even this kid
assessed well
is ripe enough to take that pathway? I'm saying in the public education sector, we have not reached that level. It would be a matter of guesswork. And let me tell you, there's no teacher. I've checked some of those rubrics that they use, the assessments. There's no teacher who keeps on just backing. This one has not met any expectation. No. Most teachers, it's meeting expectations or above expectation. So how will you deny this child X from accessing St. Mary's Yala, for instance, or accessing Alliance, or accessing this other school where it's only STEM, which is going to be provided?
Now, Boaz, you see, you're also bringing in the aspect, Lillian, a moment. You see, Boaz, now you're still bringing in the aspect of there's still gaps in the implementation of CBC, especially in the aspect of these trainers, these teachers. So what needs to be done? Because sababu tumeenda.
Among the things that require, actually all this we are talking about, we've been repeating now and emphasizing. There's a council that could have been helping us to soberly harness all this. The education standards and quality assurance. That would have been helping us to know when you see that students in school X have not performed so well, it's because they are lacking one, two, three things. How do we improve that school? That council does not exist. If you see that there's a school where actually even when the questions were being given, the projects, they cannot even understand. It's because, they did not even have the teachers that would help them. The two teachers they had were teachers who were trained in the CRE and IARE, for instance. I'm not saying those subjects are in any or Kiswahili, but I'm simply telling you that a council of that magnitude, whose mandate they think, dream, talk, see everything is quality and standards and compliance and all, that would be helping us. By right now, they would be telling us that even the curriculum we have adopted for training teachers to be compliant with CBC, there's these deficits because they assess after 1 year and see that you need to infuse a few additional things. That would be helpful because if we leave it just to us who come to these studios and talk about it, probably even nobody is listening. But even if they listen, then they say, that was just a talk show, So it would require a lot of professionalizing of the support system, and for us we anchor heavily on that council, the standards and quality assurance council. We also emphasize heavily, of course, first even the KICD, so that they keep on reviewing this the system to understand whether the curriculum domains are appropriate, they're deep enough, they can be delivered within the period of time. When that happened, and that the books, because you realize this year, when we were starting, the book publishers came out to tell us they were not ready. If we needed 1 month, 1 week, and all. In fact, they should not even be coming to tell us. We should be having this from the KICD, from the Quality and Standards Council, from this, the TSC would be telling us, we know that we have only given out teachers who are more on leaning towards this side. We want the re-engineering. Don't call them retooling, re-engineering. In 21st century, we don't go back to the old modern tools. We re-engineer them so that they are top of their game in terms of delivering the curriculum that have been revised by the KICD. When you do that, you'd be improving the CBC delivery. You would be improving also the consciousness of the learners. You'd also be making learning interesting so that nobody wants to be out of school. The numbers right now, we talk of 3.5 million out of school, would find that why are we out there? We should be in, because those who go in get a lot more skilled than us who are parking somewhere waiting for the owner of a garage to allow us repair some punctures or something like that. They'll realize that they'll learn a lot more within the school system. By the time they leave the school, they'll be more knowledgeable. They'll have also social skills that can enable them to open other ways or other windows or other doors that nobody had seen before. So we need to help them equip this course.
Adding on that, he's talked about the teacher training. I think also we should have more equipment in schools, especially the public schools. The government should at least provide the materials and the equipment needed for the CBC transition. And also the KICD, when they're coming up with the curriculum, let us favor all the schools in Kenya like when they come up with a topic like swimming, na kuna shule nye haina swimming, are they going to practice swimming in the rivers? And that swimming will come in the next project as a practical lesson. Are they going wataka to a swim? Are they going to do the practical lesson kwa bahari? Ama kwa mto? So let them come with the curriculum that will favor all schools in Kenya. Be it a public school, be it a private school.
Lillian, are these disparities also reflecting on private schools?
Sorry?
Sababu, these disparities
Yes,
that
they
Boaz
are,
has mentioned.
they are.
Sababu anasema you have a leakage. No. Maybe you are speaking from a point of privilege.
And actually, at some point, they were being given extra money.
Extra money by who?
By the parents. That is a responsibility of the government. Yeah, they were being given extra money by the parents. And that's why it became very expensive going into the private school. That's why we say, the public school system would guarantee the other children from
The thing
very
is,
low
under the public schools, they are being funded by the government. Where does the money go to? Where does the money go? A minute. Where does the money go to? It's going into people's pockets. But when you come in the private sector, a parent will know this is what I need for my kid to This is what I need for my kid to excel. So the parent, if I ask the parent to provide a ream of papers, she or he will know this ream of paper is being used for printing, and they will provide. But public schools, they are being funded by the government.
True.
So where does the money go to?
Two things.
Yes. And actually, they were even given laptops. They were even given laptops.
Only two things was.
The laptop.
Where did the laptop project go to?
Those who
Lillian,
one of those who was promised the laptop, a child, she did KCSE last year.
So did she get the laptop?
No, she did not. But now I've ensured she has a laptop. And not many parents can ensure that happens. But what I'm saying, the two things I wanted to mention, because when you're saying the government is funding, Lillian, as we speak now, the government gives only 1,500 per child per year. Munavu did recommend that we improve that to 2,250 per child per year. Even that is totally inadequate. When that is given, that is the first thing. The money allocated is very low. Two, it is never transmitted in time. As we speak now, the schools have been told there'll be 48 billion that will be dispersed. That is a promissory note that the teachers have been. It will be. So even now, if just imagine that you say, I'll deliver the unga for you to cook ugali next week. I am hungry now.
Don't you think that this 48 billion capitation will be issued to schools? Uamini itapeanwa?
No, it will be, but it will be given late when a lot of problems have happened, because they need to be given in time. That 50%, 30%, 20% formula or that agreement need to be complied with. And we also call for a little bit more of accountability on the usage of that fund, because I think that is important, that we are not financing luxurious lifestyles of the heads or
actually the heads are the ones who are messing up everything.
We need to do that. Our Auditor General did some good job. You were aware, around September, there was a report that was produced indicating to us how some of the funds are being wasted, misapplied and such. So accountability, let the parents be made aware consciously that they know when the government gives allocation, we put pressure that the money be given in time.
And the parents are aware that money is usually given in time.
Then they're aware that once it is also given, that they follow up and demand that it is applied appropriately, that you do not build a classroom at 2.5 million in just a rural setup, when another school nearby is building 2 classrooms at 1.5 billion. Those are the disparities that we are talking about. And accountability, we ask the parents and the local leadership to form socio audit teams. Social audit teams that if the construction is going on, you know that, okay, ile mchanga imeletwa is appropriate one, not just something that wameokota kwa kando ya barabara, and it is not the right mix. And two, that the number of lorries of sand that are being delivered, that's the quantity, the amount of sand delivered for that is as per the bills of quantities as was prepared and endorsed, that people do not ask for so much money and spend only 10% or 20% and they'll put up something and say it is done and it has been signed off. Quality becomes...
You have a reaction to what Boaz is saying?
Yes, I have a reaction on that. I think when the government is funding the schools, I think there is a problem somewhere. First, maybe the money is going into wrong hands, right? Right, Boaz? That
yes,
one tick.
Some of it.
Yes, tick. I think the next issue with the parents, maybe they are expecting more from what the government is providing. Because whatever I think the government is providing should be able to sustain them. But when you need extra, you should be able to fund from your pocket. Maybe in a school setup, the government has provided lunch, kama ni sima na cabbage. Na unataka uongezewe nyama. Provide for that money. Provide that money.
No, listen fast.
That the 1,500 is adequate for the year. How much does she charge a pupil in a school? Not less than 30,000.
That's the now.
So how can it be 30,000 per head? But here the government
is providing 1,000. This is the funding. This is the funding.
That's what I'm saying. The disparity. And by the way, the private schools are doing well because that extra money
coming
they get
from the parents, because the parents want good.
You know, we only have 2 minutes, and I want us to use it well. I want us to use these 2 minutes well. So I'll give each 1 minute for a parting shot. Manake, you've eaten into our time. Go first.
You want me
1 minute.
Okay. I think there should not be contestation on some of these things.
Yes,
we should just be clear. When you want CBC to work well, all of us want it. We want our children to be there. But we also want the right to education to be accessed by all children. The barriers of fees and all this, we want them to be removed from the head of the child or the head of the parent. So when we say appropriately budget for the schools and also utilize those funds in an accountable and transparent manner, we require that. We also want the parents to be more involved, because when we know when the parents are effectively involved, money will not get lost so much because they know that it is for our children. They'll not be colluding for people to embezzle funds or to support lifestyles. But also equipping those schools is a responsibility of the government. And the allocation that they make, they should make them early enough, do the work early enough, not come to the last minute and dash and do shoddy job like the constructions that we are seeing. So some of these things are required. And the bridges, in terms of the teachers, continuously retrain, improve, re-engineer them, but ensure that more are recruited as full-time teachers, permanent and pensionable, not interns that I've seen being advertised by TSC, because the courts already expressed itself. A teacher well-trained to teach should not be
an intern.
An intern again.
Lillian, your parting shot as a close.
Lillian has been helping me explain most of it.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you for a parting shot.
Okay.
Now for the CBC to be translated well, to be integrated well to the TVET, I think one, we should have all the teachers trained, be it in public schools, be it in private school. That's one. The second one, let's have enough materials, enough equipment, enough good infrastructure for these CBC students to learn well so that they can integrate well to the TVET. Yeah.
All right, that is the Lillian Kemunto, a CBC instructor, and Boaz Waruku, a policy and strategy advisor at Elimu Border, as well as a member of the Kenyan Human Rights Commission. Thank you so much, gentlemen and a lady, for coming into this conversation and for sharing your expertise. I really do appreciate this. Babu may break the ice in the studio.
How are you?
Right, you're taking a very short break, but up next is poultry farming. Stay with Morning Cafe.
you ready to elevate your business game?
As long as you're earning something, there's always that opportunity to save. And you start with where you are.